To begin with, tonight I'm so excited to spotlight Temoc Flores. He is a Canadian Latino athlete, cancer survivor, Canadian Paralympic soccer player, community leader, and community specialist with Lululemon. Timoc's journey is rooted in resilience, discipline, and purpose, from playing soccer as a child to adulthood to surviving cancer to representing Canada to the work he does in the community spaces today. His story is really one that needs to be heard. So let's bring him into the conversation. Welcome, T. Just for those meeting you for the first time, who is Timo and where does your story really begin?
Oh, oh man, that's a tough one. I guess it's I guess we can go all the way back. I was born into a very loving and Mexican family. My parents came here many, many years ago, about 35 years ago now, I want to say. Um, but basically born and raised in Canada, and I just loved our culture so much. It was embedded from day one, and through my years, I quickly fell in love with football or soccer, and yeah, that just took off, and I never turned back from that. And yeah, I guess that's where it all started. And yeah, things just happened, and roller coaster down. I mean, there's a bunch of ups and downs down that road, but yeah, I guess who am I? I'm just Temo. Soy Temo, Mexican proud, Canadian born but Mexican proud, and I've always embedded um the God-given talents my parents have passed down to me, and you know, yeah, I'm just me. I'm just me.
Thank you. So you said you mentioned you started playing soccer when you were really young. What did soccer teach you early on about yourself or discipline?
I think it just taught me a bunch of dedication. My father was my coach at a very young age. Or my mom brags that she was my very first coach as a little 3-year-old, but it was when I turned 8 where I got to be competitive and compete in what we called rep. And my father was the coach, and he taught me discipline and hard work, and um, to just put everything you got into your football, into your talents. And yeah, I think it just taught me discipline, hard work, and dedication to something that you really love and adore.
Thank you. And how do you feel your cultural background has influenced your love for sport as you were growing up in Canada? Well,
It
being
was
Mexican Canadian.
no, exactly. It was everything, Mi papás, they loved football también. Coming both from Mexico, but my dad supported the equipo de America. My mom, Chivas, and so we always had a good rivalry going head to head growing up. But it was everything we did. My grandfather played football competitively. My father played football competitively. My older sister, my brother. So it was just kind of like my turn to take up the mantle, and uh, everywhere we went, whenever there's an equipo playing in Toronto, no matter which equipo they were from Mexico, we were there. We were there supporting our gente and just being proud Mexicans. And
I am going to input a community question in there.
sure.
So, as how can we better support and motivate Latino youth athletes as they balance sports and school, in your opinion?
I think it's just being open. Especially with football, sport is so accessible if we make it. There's so many restrictions these days with pricing, and like the prices for sports is just so expensive, and it doesn't need to be. You really just need an open field and a ball, and just being able to take initiative within your community. And I think it's just having that open mindset that it doesn't need to be so difficult to get started. And yeah, I think it's just taking that initiative to be open to where you promote your football or your sport, and just go with it. It doesn't have to be too difficult. You don't have to stress it out. Just get started. Just go to a field, kick a ball, have fun.
Perfect. And what would you say would be like a good way to balance both like school and sports?
I think it's just Um, there's a saying, like the student athlete, the student comes first. I think it's important to definitely prioritize your education and have sport as like an alternative to stress. And I think the best way you can balance that is just don't stress yourself out too much. Um, and then when you are stressed, like there are avenues you can reach out to. Um, for me, that was sport, and I think in terms of balancing that, you just have to listen to your body, listen to yourself, and just understand that what you're going through, other people are going through, and you can reach out to resources out there that you can talk things through with and talk to people with. And I think there are more avenues nowadays than there were before. And um, yeah, I think there are definitely ways that we can just like be open with our conversations in terms of school and our sport and just listening to your bodies.
So communication, listening to your body, and so
Hmm.
forth. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Thank you for sharing that. I am going to share the slideshow. Hold on.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So, in regards to, do you want to comment on the pictures? Well, I know this one, I
Yeah,
know the
yeah.
comment with this one and this one, but yeah, do you want to share with everyone?
Yeah, that's it on me. Baby Temo. Had a rough start from day one. I wasn't breathing right away. Um, took me a minute to start crying, but here I am. Uh, is that my mom? Yeah, my mom always brags about being my very first coach. She will take that all the way. That's me and my father in my first year as a rough soccer player. Um, growing up in a rough sport with your father as a coach, you always kind of doubt yourself in a bit because like it's your father or your coach, like favorite having some kind of favoritism towards you. And I kind of doubted how good I was, especially at a youth age. Because I always I knew I was good. I just never really knew how good I was. Because I always had that mindset that my father was kind of like helping me out a bit. So it wasn't until maybe in the next photo where we can talk some more about that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Well, I know the next part is a little bit more on this. It's more of a delicate topic, but I know your
Hmm.
life took a turn that no child should ever expect. At from our conversation, you mentioned at 12 years old, you were diagnosed with cancer. What was your mindset being so young when you found out you had cancer? And did you want to talk a little bit about the events that led to your diagnosis?
Of course, yeah. I had a lot of ambitions for myself at a very young age, um, kind of following in the footsteps of my older sister and my older brother at the same elementary school. They both won the athletic award in grade eight, and it was going into my grade eight year where I wanted to follow in their footsteps. I wanted to win the athletic award, so I took that summer very, very seriously. My sport and my athletics, I trained. I worked hard, I sweat, but things were happening. I would hang out with my friends and they'll call my name several times, Demo, Demo, Temo, Temo. And it wasn't until the fifth or sixth time where I would actually hear them. So my hearing started to go on my left side of my on my left ear. So I wasn't picking up sounds anymore. I would play on a soccer field and I kept tripping over myself. And I would kind of turn around like, oh my God, this guy tripped me. But there was no one around me. I began tripping over my own 2 feet. Um, I was getting these pretty bad headaches. Again, I thought I was just stressed. I thought I was just pushing myself too much, thinking about my going into my grade eight year and getting the athletic award and working hard. Um, I had everything that kind of set out. I was going to graduate with honors. I was go back to Mexico and live with my grandparents and my abuelos so I can train in their Mexican soccer system because that would help me become pro and I'd be able to support my family much better. I had everything set out, but these things were happening. So it took my game from up here to down here, and I couldn't understand why. I couldn't understand why. I went to doctors because my parents were figuring out, okay, this is not right. Something's happening here. Um, And they took me to some specialists, hearing doctors, other different second and third opinions for just seeing what was wrong. A lot of doctors described it as a growth spurt. He's just has a ear infection or it's just a bug. Something we got repeatedly told towards us was that it would pass. It would pass, it would pass, it would pass. But things weren't getting any better. So it was until my final game of the soccer season going into my grade 8 year, um, where I got elbowed in the face really, really hard. Um, and it took my symptoms 10 times worse. It, instead of a headache, it felt like my brain was bouncing inside my head. The dizziness just was just rapid. I began throwing up the next morning. Um, just for a bit of a timeline, that game was on a Thursday evening. Because of such a hectic schedule I had, I never got to see my friends very much, so I had planned a Canada's Wonderland trip with my friends the very next day. Despite how I was feeling, I still went to hang out with my friends, which probably wasn't a good idea, but I didn't get much opportunity to hang out with my athletic career at that time at such a young age. Saturday came, I had soccer practice. It was the first practice I've ever skipped in my career. My father was very upset with me, but my mom said he could not go to practice. She kept me back. I was throwing up. It was just not a good idea. Sunday morning, I went to the walk-in doctor. The doctor says you had a concussion, but we're going to take a CT scan, schedule it for Monday because they're not open on the weekends, just to make sure nothing else is wrong. Monday comes, I got to skip school. I was so excited. I was like, oh my God, I get to skip school. I got McDonald's that day. Went for the CT scan. Um, it was 10, 15 minutes. On the drive back, as soon as we get home, we got a call from the doctor. He says she has to come back to the doctor's office. And we're like, we were just there. Like, what's the issue? Can't wait. But anyways, we go back to the doctor's and he sits my mom and myself down and he's like, you have a tumor the size of an orange and we're based on your symptoms, we believe it to be cancerous. A biopsy would determine officially, but we are shipping you to Sick Kids Hospital. My mom and I obviously devastated. Um, we rushed home, grabbed a couple of things, and we were on our way to Sick Kids. And on the very next Tuesday, or the next day, I was in an 8-hour surgery.
That's intense. That's intense
Yeah,
for
yeah,
you going through it and your parents, right?
yeah,
Like your
yeah,
entire family, sorry.
yeah, yeah. All in
Uh,
5 days. It was just like that. And if that kid didn't elbow me and make my symptoms worse, who knows where I would be.
Thank you for sharing that, Timo. I know when we met, you briefly spoke about we touched upon your mindset, right? So, in regards to what were some of the hardest parts mentally or emotionally during that time frame?
Think one of the biggest questions that comes up for a lot of people, and this one hit me very hard, was the why me? Why did this have to happen to me? Um, like I said, I had everything set out. I knew what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go, where I wanted to study, where I wanted to play my football, and I had everything. I had a plan and I had this dream, and it was just crushed in a moment's notice. And that question of why me just was probably the hardest thing mentally that I had to go through. There was a lot of things that people would say to help encourage me. I had a great support system, but some of the things like they would say was like, "Oh, well, if you're in a garden, which flower do you pick? You pick the prettiest one." And it's a good sentiment, but it never really sat right with me. Because there's like everyone around me is beautiful, so it didn't make it didn't sit right with me, those kind of sayings that people were telling me. And at a certain point, it I stopped searching for the answer because I believe everything happens for a reason. Whether that's God's plan, but yeah, I truly believe everything happens for a reason. I Instead of chasing the answer, I changed the question. Instead of why me, I changed it to if not me, then who? My mom, my dad, my sister, my brother, you, anyone really. If it wasn't me, I couldn't stand the thought of it being someone else. And if it ever came down to me or someone else, I would pick me 100% of the time because it's just, I wouldn't want anyone to go through that experience ever again. And I will 100% go through the experience for them if I could.
That's deep. We were talking about emotional like earlier. I didn't expect this again. Okay. Thank you for that. Okay. So I'll tie back to one of the community questions.
Mhm.
When things felt overwhelming, what helped you keep going even on the days you didn't feel strong?
Um, my family. My family were my rock. There, there wasn't a day that I think where I was ever alone. It was my mom would spend the days with me. My father would work the days, but he would come in the nights and spend the nights with me. My mom would go home and rest. They would alternate. My brother and my older sister at the time, they made a Facebook page. And they added all my friends and Kale's friends. And to this day, I still check that Facebook page whenever I'm feeling down or I need a bit of encouragement. I check the page and I scroll through these 15-year-old messages of, you got this, Temo. You got this. Um, so when on the days when I wasn't feeling strong, there were strong people holding me up. So I think their support just meant so much, and it extended way past my family to my school, to my teammates, to other soccer teams in the community that heard my story and reached out to support. And yeah, I their support just meant so much to me, not only to me but to my parents. And I was so flabbergasted that when I heard about so many people were helping us, and it's like the impact that community has. It was just special. It was just special.
Thank you for sharing that. I was going to say it's community, right? Because it's like your
Hmm.
family, the other players, the coaches. We're going to show more on that as well
Hmm.
in regards to that. And it helped, right? It helped you get through what you were going through, everything, not just physically, but emotionally as well, right? So you had
Hmm.
that support system there for you. In regards to how do you feel that experience changed the way you see life and strength today?
I think strength just never came from the muscles that you see on people's bodies. There's a saying where you don't know how strong you are until being strong is your only option. And that just rings so true because yes, I had a great support team, but I needed to be the one to take that step forward. I need to be the first one to take that step forward. Like, I imagine these two parallel bars helping me walk again. But and I picture my family supporting each arm, but I need to be the one to take that step forward. And I think it's much bigger than the physical aspects that you see on people's bodies. It's in your heart, it's in your mind, and you just have to become unbreakable. So yeah, I don't see strength as the physical. I think it's strength as your determination to get through things, your motivation to persevere, and I truly think that strength just comes from your heart and your soul and your mindset.
That's deep. That's really good. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm going to go into some of the pictures. I know it's very like emotional. Did you want to comment or mention anything in some of these about some of these pictures? Sorry.
Yeah, that second picture is not as scary as you think. They were just taking scans of my brain. Because my cancer was medulloblastoma, which is brain tumor that is attached to your cerebellum, I think. Um, but yeah, uh, lots of pokes, lots of needles. There's at Sick Kids Hospital, you're giving, oh my God, a necklace, and for everything you do, whether it's be able to work, whether it's an IV, whether it's some kind of scan, you're given a bead and you attach it to your necklace. I think at the end of my journey, uh, which was about a year time in the hospital, I had two full necklaces of all the kind of beads you can think of for every kind of test you can think of. The amount of be able to work, the amount of times I was poked and probbed and lumbar punctures were probably the worst experience. That's a needle straight to your back to take spinal fluid. That one sucked. Um, I had a great care team. Those are two of the nurses I reconnected with. Um, Dr. Drake was the one who operated on me. He's the one where I'm standing next to. Um, he's the true Drake in my he's he's the real goat. He's the goat. The picture with my arm, giving a peace sign. Just because you're deemed cancer free, you gotta go back to the hospital. You gotta get your scans every couple of months. Um, so yeah, every couple of months, or I would go back to Sick Kids Hospital, get poked and prodded again, just further testing, making sure that the cancer was staying away. But yeah, um, I I
That's,
became very familiar with Sick Kids Hospital.
yeah. So this is the real goat, right? This is the
Yeah,
real Drake.
this is the real Drake. That's the real
Shout
Drake.
out to Dr. Drake. And then there's one more. Did you want to talk a little bit about this one?
Oh, this is cute. This is really cute. Um, like I mentioned about my support team, my school in South Asia, it's called St. James Catholic School. They want to support me, but they came up with this idea to make little t-shirt cutouts with Team Temo. So every kid in the school made little cutouts. They decorated however they want with Team Temo, and they passed it all over the school, and then they gave them to me at the hospital. I forget which friend came by that day, but they dropped it off in an envelope, and I was going through each and every one, Team Temo, Team Temo, Team Temo. I truly had the school on my back. It motivated me and pushed me forward. The soccer balls were from two teams that I never even heard of. They wrote get well messages and they sent them my way. I remember one day I was able to come home and I was just hanging out in the basement, and these two like U18 soccer players came by and they're like, "Are you Tamo? And we brought you some gifts." And they're like, "Oh my God." Um,
So sweet.
yeah. TFC, that was an experience. Word got out to Toronto FC and they invited me, my family, and a few of my friends. And I got to meet the entire team at their training session. And there are the GOATs, Di Rosario, and oh my God, De Guzman. Yeah. That was truly something special. I also got tickets to see them in the game, and man, that was really special.
That's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, this
And
picture
then
in the
this is
middle.
yeah, this one is the one for the welcome home one, right?
Yes. Quick note for those that don't know. At Sick Kids, when you're treated with oncology, in the oncology cancer unit, you're given different protocols. And the way they name their protocols is after Saint Jude, Saint Michael, Saint Patrick. In this case, part of my cancer protocol for treatment was under the St. Patrick protocol. Um, on the final day, I was discharged from Sick Kids Hospital, deemed cancer free. It was St. Patrick's Day. Um, so I got to drive home. My best friend wearing that St. Patrick's hat. Uh, he had a family member create that banner, and there was my family. So it was just kind of ironic. Who knows? God's will, but St. Patrick is more than just a day to celebrate and get drunk for most people. It's a day that means that I'm another year cancer free. So I take that with a blessing. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. So we got TFC as goats, we got St. Jude's, and we have St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So I know in regards to that experience, obviously didn't just change your life, right? It shaped how you really move forward. So looking at like representation and achievement, what role did soccer and movement play in your healing?
It was a huge motivation. Um, Crushing at the same time. Uh, Before the diagnosis, I would run 5Ks, 10Ks for fun. I would train and not break a sweat. And it was fun. I really enjoyed my fitness. And then I've never been a big guy. So when I was diagnosed and went through treatment, I lost a lot of weight. So skinny guy now, imagine 10 times skinnier. I was thin as bones. I was puking up everything that they gave me in terms of food. It was just not fun. So when it came back to physio, I all I wanted to do was to get back on the soccer field with my friends. But man, it was just so hard. I remember I had to learn how to stand up just for a minute on my own 2 feet, not bearing any supports, just to stand up for 1 minute. And I was like, how can I go from running 5Ks for fun to not being able to stand on my own 2 feet? But I wanted to kick a ball again. I I wanted to run on the field with my buddies and score a goal. That's all I kind of pictured when it came to my physio and my rehab. And my physiotherapist understood that. And we set up cones in our little physio center at Sick Kids Hospital. And I would attempt my best to dribble through the cones with a soccer ball and score a goal. And I just took it little by little. There were days where I was crushed and crying and devastated because how did it become so hard to do what I love so much? But bit by bit, I got stronger, and eventually I was able to walk on that soccer field again. I was still skinny. The jersey still looked massive on me, but I was just happy to be back on that field, just right by my house.
That's amazing. Thank you for that. Looking at that, so it helped with your healing, and then obviously it took you to representing Canada. So, what did it mean to represent Canada in the Paralympic soccer? And just tell us a bit more about that experience. And then we'll also share some pictures in regards to that.
Sure. Man, it meant everything. It meant everything. I knew when I was first diagnosed that there was still a fire inside of me that I still wanted to fight this and come out on the other side. And when I think back about it, the dream that I mentioned earlier that I thought was gone and done with, it never really died. It just lingered there. So, and it wasn't even on my brain to represent Team Canada. It kind of fell upon just awareness, and I heard about it and I reached out, and next thing I was training with the team. It all happened so fast, and I'm just super blessed to be able to put on my jersey and represent my nation. My father always taught us that you never pay for the name on your back, you always pay for the name on your chest. Um, because that's your hint, that's your país, like that's your football, your soccer is always bigger than yourself. It's always bigger than your name. It's who you represent. When you step on the field, you represent only your country, you represent your family, you represent your friends, and todo el país. And it was just a blessing and an honor.
That's amazing. I want to get to the pictures because a lot of that represents everything you showed, right? Like your parents the way they're so proud. Everyone's proud. We're all proud. Do you want to talk a little bit about some of these pictures here?
Sure. This um after my diagnosis, I got back into football, I got back into soccer, and it was where I found coaching. Something I always wanted to do was give back to the community. I want to just help people. The way these nurses and doctors that sick kids helped me, I just want to give that back to the community. So I got into coaching, and I found a program called the All Abilities Program in Pickering, where it's a soccer program dedicated to children and youth with disabilities, whether it's intellectual, physical, or mental. We took in all athletes and all kids to just have fun. Word got out that I was training with the team, but word also got out that I made the roster for the World Cup, our version of the World Cup in Argentina. So all these kids and my co-coaches, they made the sign, "Good luck in Argentina, Coach T." And it was, I remember tearing up when they presented this with me because I wanted to do
Sorry.
was help them, and they just helped me to achieve what I never thought I was ever going to be able to do again. And yeah, so that first picture is my first national representation with the national team in Argentina, Sao Paulo. It was a blessing to just be a part of that.
That's amazing. So let me go into the next set.
And then I kept at it.
Mhm.
I kept training. I kept my dedication to the sport, to my fitness, and I managed to make it to the Ecuador Copa America, which is the top left picture. Um, all these trainings with the IFCPF, which is our organizing body, is all under Canada Soccer. So we train and compete and travel just as our small single team. Um, but in 2023, there is an opportunity for our sport to be in the Paralympics or the Parapanams. And when you travel with the Parapanams, you're traveling with the Paralympic community, the Paralympic organization. So you're more than just your single team. You get to travel with all the other athletes of Team Canada. You got your wheelchair basketball players, you got your ball cheat players, you got everyone you can think of in this para world traveling together as one unit to go and compete for your nation. It was massive. It was just breathtaking. And yeah, it just felt 10 times bigger than your one little team because you're representing and traveling with all these other people who have that same desire, that same passion to go out there, give it 100% to represent your country. And it was just an experience of a lifetime. I took nothing for granted. I want to talk to everyone. I want to experience the culture of the athletes village and just like change pins and change shirts with anyone and everyone I could think of. It was just a blessing to be part of something much bigger than ourselves. And yeah, it was just an experience of a lifetime.
That's amazing because all of you guys gone through similar trainings, similar mindsets. You all think alike, right? So it's a really great environment to be around.
Mhm.
And the last time, correct me if I'm wrong, but the last time you competed was in the 2023, correct?
Correct.
Which is this picture over here.
Yes. Yeah. You
Okay.
could see the two Peruvians in the wheelchairs and the Santiago sign in the back. I think
Oh.
that the lady and the gentleman are from Guatemala or El Salvador. I can't remember. And I had a friend who works for Ontario Soccer who heard about my story and created the graphic you see on the right. Um,
Oh, this one, right?
yeah, yeah.
Love
So
it.
probably my favorite picture. I didn't even ask for it, and he's a big digital creator with Ontario Soccer. Heard my story and he made it for me, and I was like, oh my God, that looks so cool. That looks so cool.
You do. It's amazing. And then I also wanted to talk about cultural representation, right?
Mm,
So do you want to touch upon a little bit about these pictures?
yeah. Like I mentioned before, like we're so passionate about our país, you know. We have everything that the culture brings, the Mexican culture brings, the food, the sport, the tequila, if I'm being honest. Um, but we just love where we come from, and everywhere we go, we're not afraid to wave our flag. Um, there have been times where we've gone into some rough neighborhoods waving our flags in Canada, but we'll do it 10 times over again because it's our gente, it's our país, and we're just so proud to be Mexican and where we come from. Some of the photos here are when we went to the Canadian Grand Prix to cheer on our Mexican race car driver, Checo Perez, and we brought our sombreros, our banderas, our flags, and we were just so proud to be there. Everyone wants to take pictures with us because that's just who we are, you know. Everyone wants to take a picture. Hey, yo, there's Chico fans, you know, let's take pictures with them. Um,
Who's the person in the mask? I'm curious now.
oh, that is my older brother. That is my older
Oh,
brother. Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And you know, everywhere I go, I bring my Mexico flag. I got the opportunity to race in Miami, for 10K, and I did bring my Canadian flag, I must say as well, but I waved that Mexico flag so proud because, you know, you just have to represent, you know, Latinos stand up, you know, Latinos represent. And I was just, yeah, yeah, I'm just so proud of the work ethic that my parents instilled upon us and the culture, everything from, yeah, Independencia to the Dia de Muertos and everything that we celebrate that yeah, I just you can't forget your roots and where you come from, and I'm gonna take that flag with me to the day I die.
That's amazing. Thank you for that. I love it. I was like, I'm curious to know who the person in the mask is when you sent me the pictures. I love that. Okay, so looking at that, so from that journey, your life started opening up into leadership and community. I know you touched a little bit upon being Coach T. Today, you're a community specialist with Lululemon. What does that role mean to you beyond the title?
It it's kind
Or
of
do
a
you want to
full
start off
circle.
with what the role is and then how you take
Sure.
it on beyond the title? Sure.
Yeah, okay. Well, essentially, the community specialist role is the opportunity for you to help promote the brand in terms of community engagement, whether that's running with run clubs or meeting with an ambassador or supporting fundraisers, that sort of thing. And I think it's just a blessing to be able to be a part of this role because all I've tried to do is give back through my volunteering and through my talks with the Canadian Cancer Society, and I've spoken at schools and shared my story. So being in this role to be able to give back to the community, it's just so cool and kind of full circle because this brand helped support me in the games, and now I get to support it back by promoting it to the community and everything that the brand stands for, from wellness to movement to health. It's just kind of full circle and everything intertwined with that. So when I'm given an opportunity to not only share the brand but support fundraisers, that people never think the brand would be associated with. It's kind of like our domain now. Like, yes, we're giving directives to what we can and can't do, but as a pop-up store in Pickering, by the way, you guys have to shop in Pickering to help us stay and become permanent. But as a pop-up in Pickering, we're kind of in a gray area into what we can do. So I'm always want to say yes to fundraising. Um, One of my favorite stories uh, within this role is I got to help organize and fundraise for Jade De Castro. Jade De Castro was a young girl who passed away, and every year the family hosts a charity volleyball tournament. And I brought a DJ out there. I brought an equipo. We gave product, and that story of what we did still rings in the community. People come in and like, hey, we love what you did with this. And for these people, the family would still come in and they would cry with our staff over Jade De Castro's memory, and it's just it's just a blessing to be able to be in a role where I can give back more to the community in aspects that I wasn't able to do before.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And shout out to the Lululemon and shout out to the Pickering location. I know there's a few, yeah, I know there's a few Lululemon people in here as well. I'll take a community question. How has sports helped you build community?
Well, sports is it's actually just revolved around movement. It's just how we move. Um, and I think it's just so accessible. You know, you got winter sports, you got summer sports, and I think it's just a fun way to get the community together to move. And there's so many disciplines that you can get into, whether it's golf, whether it's running, whether it's soccer, whether it's football, um, or yoga or gymnastics or whatever the case may be. It's just such a fun way to build community. You organize an event, you see people from all different age groups and different backgrounds coming together to just enjoy movement. And I just think it's just so cool and so much fun.
And just to give one more shout out to Lululemon Pickering, you host also events there, correct?
Yeah, yeah. Uh,
Okay.
we try to keep it local, but if I'm able
Mhm.
to travel, I will. But we do in-store yoga, Pilates. Sometimes I'm working on some train sessions with some strengthening. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, yeah. It's something we I got some
So
stuff coming up.
perfect. So, okay. And then we'll touch upon that more after. I'm going to share some pictures in regards to community and leadership. Looking at that, do you want to talk about the pictures in the slide?
Sure. Um, some of the children you see on the left side are through my work with the Pickering Abilities Program. I just love being a part of this group of coaching because these children, 9 times out of 10, they're not given the platform to play. It's not accessible to them, which is why this program is just so beneficial for the community. And yeah, so just being able to be their coach and support them is just a blessing. Um, that middle picture is from one of my game. It's from the games. Again, I met a volunteer, and she was our translator. So just being able to share Canadian pride, and I was able to give her my jersey as a thank you for all the work she did for our people, and yeah. Oh, that top picture, the top two pictures in the middle and the top right, that's a cute story. I was wearing my national gear in store working. Um, and a beautiful thing about community is that it happens all the time and all around you. So it's so hard to schedule. But anyways, I was working this shift and I was wearing my Canadian gear, being very proud of what I wear and what I represent when I wear it. And this guest came over and she's like, I love your outfit. Where can I buy it? Where can I get it? I live in the States and I'm not able to find any Canadian merch. So I'm visiting and I'll be here for a couple of days, but where can I get that outfit? And I was like, and I explained to her, oh, it was gifted to me as a para athlete. Um, but I asked her when she's leaving. She said she's leaving tomorrow. So I told her, come back tomorrow. So I go back home that night. I go through my closet. I pull up some of my stuff I wore at the games and previous training grounds, and I put it all in a bag. She comes back tomorrow. Someone told her that I like Timbits. I do like Timbits. And so she comes with a pack of Timbits. I come with a bag of old, we're not, yeah, not even old, just like stuff truly treasured and wore at the games, and I just gave it to her. And I was like, it's a gift on me. Wear it with pride, wear it with honor, and yeah, so
That's
that was a real cute moment. She comes in every now and then to say hi, and yeah, that was a real cute moment.
that's amazing. That's amazing. And then the bottom one?
Oh, mi familia. Ah, man, I don't know where I would be without mi familia. You got my two sisters and my brother and mis papas. We are such a tight-knit family. We've always have been. It's just us here in Canada. Um, Everyone back home, abuelos, cousins, primos, and they're all back home in Mexico. So it's just us here. And my journey definitely brought us closer together, and we've stayed such a strong unit through the tough times, and we continue to stay strong. And yeah, I'm just blessed to be a part of this family. Even
That's
Rosita's
amazing.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna mention Rosita. Oh,
Yeah.
that's so awesome. All right, let me. That's amazing because I included your parents, I included your family picture in there because they are part of the community, right? They are the ones that built, like pretty much built all of that and then provided that opportunity for you, right?
Mhm.
So looking at what you're doing, like I know currently you're with Lululemon, obviously you're doing a lot of community initiatives, but you're also challenging yourself. So, do you want to talk about you're currently training for half a marathon, from what I remember? Um, Correct? That
Yeah.
was half a marathon, right? Okay,
Yeah.
good. Like it wasn't 10K. I remember it was half a marathon. What inspired that?
I think I just really um enjoyed my running. I loved my 5Ks, my 10Ks, short and sweet and fast. And yes, it's tough, but it was over quick. Um, and then and through the community work and understanding that people are running 43 marathons in a year, 60 marathons in a year, it's just and the impact that they can have through their running. I was like, okay, I'm gonna attempt to do one. Um, but I set myself up with the time of trying to finish it under an hour and 50 minutes. So I got my work cut out for me. Never done that far of a distance before, so I'm excited and eager to start training. Hopefully the weather gets a bit warmer and I can start running out there. But for now, strength training.
And just to clarify, you're going to be running in the Durham region training?
Yes, I would definitely,
Okay.
yeah, run. If you're on the waterfront trails, you'll probably see me. You'll probably see me.
Perfect. What would you say training represents to you mentally, like from a mental, yeah, from a mental aspect?
I think it just further improves what we're capable of.
Mm.
Like it, I when I started running, I was not good, and then I progressed so much, and then I hear people saying, "Oh man, I'm not as fast as you or whatnot." I'm like, "Hey, we're all in the same boat. It's just how we mentally go about it. Just gotta keep at it, keep taking that extra step forward." Um, I remember in high school when I was on the cross country team, a simple phrase from my coach at the time: "It's just one foot after another." It's just one foot after another. That's all it is, and just step by step, time by time, you're just gonna keep taking more steps as you keep going with it. And I think it just training is just a way for you to mentally strengthen yourself in terms and for you to learn that you are far more capable than you think you are. And I'm just excited to see how I progress through this training segment.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing that. I am going to move on to the community questions. So you answered some of them throughout. So the first one is, what has been the best or one of the best book or books that helped with your resilient and positive mindset?
Ooh, books or books? Hmm, books or books? I this might be a dumb one. I'm not sure, but I fell in love with the Percy Jackson series, and something about the mythology and understanding that yes, it's fictional, but the understanding of your true self and being able to overcome adversity, whether through its monsters or obstacles in your way. And I think that's probably one of my favorite books I have to read about. over and over again, no matter how old I get. And yeah.
Perfect. Thank you for that. The next one is when things felt overwhelming, what helped you keep going even on the days you didn't feel strong?
Uh, Definitely my family. My family. It, this in my community around us. Um, because my parents were doing rotations to visit me and see me. No one was always home to be with my other siblings and taking care of them. So our community stepped up and they provided a dinner rotation for my siblings. And that was just like so kind and heartwarming to understand that it gave my parents the opportunity to be by my side when maybe they weren't able to, and because my other siblings were taken care of as well. And yeah, our community just stepped up so much, and I'm just truly grateful for their support. And yeah, yeah, they were definitely my rock.
Thank you for that. Do you use any visualization exercises or practices?
Kind of. When I
Mhm,
travel and compete, I'm a big music guy. Music was probably another thing that helped me get through my journey.
mhm.
You'd be surprised how many female singers have great songs out there. Christina Aguilera, Stronger, Fighter, Destiny's Child, Survivor. Uh, Good songs to listen to when you feel defeated.
How do you develop a strong mental resilience that overcomes any negativity, self consciousness, doubt, and really enjoying the sport, playing the sport? Sorry. So, mental resilience.
I think my journey was enough to teach me. I was young enough to be resilient in the fact of childhood cancer, but I was also old enough to understand everything that was going on around me. Every experience I still remember pretty well. Um, and I think that all that I've been through is just helped shape me. And like I've been to hell and back, and I can show you vouchers if you want to. I have the scars. So I just think mm, nothing can phase me anymore in that sense. Like I said, you don't know how strong you are until being strong is your only option. So yeah, it sucks, but trauma is just like it just shaped my mindset in terms of how I want to proceed and how I want to live my life. And yeah, I'm 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 a pretty stubborn guy too. So when I got my head focused on something, I try not to budge from it and put my head down and I grind through it. And yeah,
Perfect. Thank you for sharing that. And the last community question, was there a point in your life where you didn't know where you were going? If so, how did you overcome that or figure out your life path?
yeah. Um, I think it was in during my treatment. Um, the physio was really hard. That was hard on me. Just seeing how far I've gone to just be set back. And I think, and there was a moment in time where I would self-harm, and I was, it was just really tough. And, but I had the support of my family and my doctors and my nurses and my psychologist. And they like I kind of said, like they could help me, but like you gotta pull yourself. You gotta make the first step to improvement. And I think that mindset of it's funny. I think of this quote from Eminem in Mockingbird. Um, have you ever loved someone so much you give an arm for? Um, and I, um, and every time I think of that, I think of my sister, my younger sister. Because it's not just an expression, you know, you had to give an arm for it. I would hate myself if she was ever in that position. So I was like, I'm gonna pull myself together. I'm gonna show her how strong I can be, and I'm just gonna do what I can to show her and my family that soy Mexicano, I can do this. Um, we're Mexican strong, we're Mexican proud, and it was bigger than me at that point, and I just knew that I need to take that step to improvement.
Thank you for sharing that. So it was a very strong support system you had in regards to professional help and then obviously your community as well,
Hmm.
right? So I just wanted to make sure that was out there, that it is your family and obviously it's your community because that's part of your family's part of the community, but it's also professional help as well. Um, thank you for that. And I'm just being mindful of people's time. So I am going to go into the rapid fire. We did finish the community questions, but I do have rapid fire.
Okay.
So, one word that describes your journey.
Oh, uh, crazy.
That's good. That's a good one. I'm sorry I stopped you from drinking water. Okay. And then the second one is one message you want to leave. One message you want people to leave with tonight.
It's a quote that I saw on my high school wall. Nothing is without faith and work. Whether that's faith in higher being in Dios or but faith in yourself that you can get through whatever it is you are going through. You just have to be willing to take that step. It's going to take work. You have to be willing to do the work. You have to take that first step. No one else can take that step for you. And then have faith in yourself that you can get through you can get through it and you can continue being the best version of yourself.
That's amazing. Thank you for that, Timo. And where can people follow your journey and support what you're building?
You can follow me on my Instagram, Temoc Flores. I think there's two S's at the end. Not too sure. But that's pretty much it. I think it's the same one on TikTok, Instagram. If you see Eventbrite from UUM and Pickering, that's me behind the scenes. So yeah,
Amazing. So, Instagram, you said TikTok, and you said
Eventbrite.
Lululemon's
Yeah,
events.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. Perfect. Well, Timo, thank you so much for trusting the space and obviously sharing your journey so openly. Your story really, it absolutely reflects like resilient discipline and purpose. Thank you to everyone who joined us tonight. This is exactly why LDN Community Spotlight lives like live exists, sorry, to create space for stories that connects us and remind us of what's possible. Please, as I always say, make sure you show Timo some love, continue to follow his journey, and stay connected with Latinas del Norte as we continue highlighting voices from our community. Thank you again.